You're listening to Level Up with Melissa Zaloof from Iron Source.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Melissa Zaloof, and you're listening to Level Up, the podcast for people who love making, growing, and of course, playing mobile games. Today, I'm here with, I just did this perfectly, Matej Lancaric, who is a mobile game UA consultant and the king of, in his words, no BS content. Which we love over here. We're going to be talking all about hard-won UA lessons, how to go off autopilot when it comes to your UA, controversial opinions, because we love those too, and no BS actionable tips for anyone listening. Matej, thank you very much for being on the show today.
Yeah, thank you very much for the invitation. We were looking forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, you guys might notice that I'm in my bedroom and Matej's in his kid's room. But recently, you at least were in a much cooler place. First question, how did the Maldives treat you?
It was amazing. I was there with my wife and then my daughter. So from time to time, I felt like it's more like a Hunger Games or survival camp because my daughter is 1 year old. So she was just she was crawling around, jumping into the pool on and off. I really tried to save her from drowning all the time. But it was nice. Yeah. We usually go there like every year with my wife. Last year we had to pause because my daughter was born. But now we're back on track. So
good.
It's good.
Impressive. You can't let the kids get in the way.
Yeah, I know.
So tell us a little bit about your sort of story in the industry. You've got over or a decade's worth of experience in UA. So tell us a little bit about your story and why kind of you ended up in marketing and user acquisition.
All right. Well, so I am in the gaming industry for 10 years, which is nice. I started my career at Pixel Federation, which is the biggest game dev company here in Slovakia. And I've been there for 5 years. So I started when their games were on Facebook Canvas, which was a long time ago. I took those games from Facebook Canvas to mobile, soft launch owner and global launch owner of those games. And honestly, I learned everything I know now. I learned there. And when I was there also, I tried to work with different companies, as a side gigs here and there, just to get more experiences from different genres, different teams, different budgets, which also brings different challenges. So that was really nice experience. Then I moved to another marketing agency that is based here in Slovakia, which works with games. I built a team from scratch to 25 people, actually from UA and the creative part of the team. And then I said to myself, life is short, let's try something else. So what I've started doing as a side gig at Pixel Federation now became like a full-time job, which is the UA consultancy. I work with different companies around the world, and it's amazing. It's been a great ride. I also started a podcast here in Slovakia, which is called Gamecast, in obviously Slovak language, because there's still like not as many knowledge sharing as I would like to. So that's one thing. And then I'm a host of 2.5 Gamers podcast, which is also a no bullshit gaming podcast. It's fun times.
Yeah, 100%. So was it marketing or was it gaming? Like, what was the thing? Where did the passion come from or start?
So I think it's both. I'm a gamer since my young years, I would say. I met my future CMO while playing Counter-Strike. So then he approached me when I had first job in online marketing here in Slovakia, and he approached me to actually start working for Pixel Federation. But honestly, in terms of marketing, I don't even know. I studied marketing at my university here in Slovakia. To be honest, it was traditional marketing, no online marketing, so pretty old shit. But I was fascinated by online marketing, all these search engine optimization, performance marketing, and link building, all the fun stuff. So, but I had all the theoretical knowledge, but zero experience. So then I applied for few jobs. They hired me. And then they hired me afterwards to Pixel Federation. So easy. It was definitely not easy, but there were opportunities, and if there is an opportunity, I definitely try to get it.
And what was kind of like the push to double down on the consultancy work versus sort of like being in house at a game company?
So I think multiple things. As I mentioned, I wanted to just get as much experiences from different genres and games. And my top motivation and priority was always like being happy. And in my all previous workplaces, I was still hearing like, hey man, you need to do this, you need to do that, you can't say this or that, you need to behave, you need to join the 2 a.m. Conference call because this potential client is super important, and you might just sign it. These type of things, which eventually like didn't make me super happy. I switched. Now I can. I'm my own boss, basically. I can work with anyone who I want. I can have a call whenever I want. So I can say no to companies, and I don't want to work because my motivation isn't about the money. So when people ask me like what are my requirements for work, I always answer like I only work with nice people. So that's it basically. Now of course I can spend the time with my family, which is super important.
You also, one of the things you said you do is you host multiple podcasts.
Yeah.
And the 2.5 Gamers podcast is described as having a 4 a.m. conference vibe. So here's a question, really critical, very important for everyone, not just me. Do we at LevelUp have a 4 a.m. conference vibe? What time would you give our vibe?
Yeah, I would. That's a perfect question. No, so I would say. Yeah, I would say this is definitely a classic 5 p.m. vibe, which is because it's very professional. You have very great preparations for all the podcasts, and you've done your homework really well. Great questions that actually nobody asked me before, so that's great. On 2.5 Gamers.
Yeah, go on.
Okay, so on 2.5 Gamers, we are having so much fun, but also we are making fun of each other quite a lot. So that's important. Mm-hmm. And people often tell us that they feel like they're sitting next to us in a bar where we share all the great insights while getting shit faced, obviously. but to be completely honest with you, like the 4 a.m. conference discussion vibe and the time, that's exactly the time where all the secrets are shared. Always.
Mm-hmm. Always. My personal takeaway from your answer is that the LevelUp podcast is basically time to when people start drinking, and 2.5 Gamers is when they're shit faced and the secrets come out. And I'll take it. I'll take it. So now that we've established that very important fact, let's move to talking about UA. So it's, we talked about how long you've been working in the field. You've probably had a few sort of aha moments that have sort of stuck with you and that have fed into how you understand what is successful UA. And obviously, the caveat here is that things change very quickly, especially in the field of kind of like mobile marketing. But can you share sort of like what one of those moments might have been?
Yeah, I think the biggest aha moment was very early in my career when I actually understood like how the cohorts work. It was a very, very interesting point. Like, okay, so it was one of those days when everything looked super good, but we were looking at very large data sets. So obviously, when you look at like 6 months of data, like everything looks good. But then actually drilled down a little bit more, and then saw that last, let's say, week or two, and those cohorts didn't look that well. And I was like, okay, so this is how I should look at things, how it makes sense. So that was definitely one of the biggest ones.
Like it. And now what we want to do on this episode is to talk about like rethinking UA, or sort of going off the beaten track or going off autopilot. And one of the things we want to talk about is how do you sort of build UA teams that experiment or that can sort of bring experimentation into their sort of culture. You have sort of helped to market, publish over 30 games. Are there any sort of like golden rules that you bring with you when you're working on a new game? And then the follow-up is when do you break your own rules?
Yeah. So I really don't play by the rules at all. So for me, usually it's like when I work with companies and games, it's about bringing a different perspective, a new pair of eyes, and always like bringing crazy creative ideas. Thanks to the fact that I've worked with so many games in the past, I've seen things and some patterns, so that I usually know where to start with a new game. Since I was in the situation 30 times before, and when I break those rules, well, there are no rules. So in UA, like you said, everything is changing so rapidly. So when someone tells me we have tried this or that and it didn't work, and then afterwards they say, oh well, but we tried it like half a year ago or a year ago. It's like, yeah, well, guess what? Mm-hmm. Like it's totally different now. Let's try that again. And and then there's like other situation where I usually encounter, which is where I break some of the processes I have in my head. I like to grow budgets steadily by 20-30% week over week, and when I see great numbers or great KPIs, or well, not great, better than I expected, when I'm looking at day 1, day 3, day 7 numbers and comparing it to the benchmarks I was used to. So I really just try to get away from that 20-30% budget growth. I just try to scale as quickly as I can, basically to double down on the great KPIs.
And how do you sort of, because part of what you have to do is, part of your work is to mentor user acquisition teams. How do you build, first of all, how do you build culture from the outside, right? Like how do you build a culture of experimentation in a team that you're not sort of, it's not your team necessarily, right? Or that you're not in-house with?
Yeah, but I think it's kind of easy. Well, there's no bullshit policy, high transparency and honesty. It's complete trust, basically. So if you have all of these in your environment and in your team and UA team, everyone thrives, basically. So that's super important. And like you said, like the UA team vibe is very important, and the cooperation between the external partner and the internal team is always is important. But you always want to work with people who love their jobs and love working in their team. And when this happens, everything is so much easier. So if there is a mistake, everybody knows about it. Everybody just comes very straight and clean, like, okay, so I made a mistake. And I do mistakes as well. And I've recently made a very big mistake of spending 30K in one day instead of 1 month. And the first thing that I just jumped on the call with the guys and said, like, look, guys, so this is the thing. It won't happen again. I know what happened, why it happened, and we spent 30K. But on the other hand, eventually, like most probably, will come back. It's just going to take a little bit longer. But we had some learnings from that mistake, and everybody was like, okay, well, it's not very, very great thing to do, spending 30K in a day. At least we know, like, this is actually a scalable game. So it was a fun moment. So and when these things happen and you have this good vibe, and so it's always perfect. And it's this also kind of goes hand in hand with the experimentation policy, because you need to spend, you need to experiment, and if you don't try new things, well, where do you want to get? I mean, you want to grow, so you need to try new things multiple times in a year, and don't say, well, we tried this 6 months ago, it doesn't work, so we don't want to try it again. Everything is changing so rapidly. Like, I don't know what's going to happen next week. not what happened 6 months ago.
So you've now talked about this twice. You've mentioned it twice. This sort of tendency that people have to say, okay, well, I tried this once before. It didn't work, and now there's no point trying it again. What's another example, if you have any, of sort of like entrenched or common behavior in UA or growth teams that you sort of try and disrupt?
Yeah, so I think there's one big important thing that some UA teams think that they are gonna lose their jobs because of me, basically, and because we work together, and they think that I want to replace them, which is exactly the opposite what I want to actually do. I mean, and some people believe there is like nothing new for them to learn, which is bullshit. Like there's always something new to learn, and like this is all about the attitude and approach to work, obviously. But yeah, like this is very common thing that I see. Like people think that I want to take their jobs, but no. Thank you very much. I'm very happy with right now. I definitely don't want to take your job. Easy.
Yeah, you heard it here, guys. Just in case you were wondering. So let's move to kind of talking about some of the first of all the no BS tips, the 4 a.m. stuff, and some of the stuff that you try and sort of say we've got to try this or we've got to try that. What are I want to talk about timing of UA and kind of when are you supposed to start thinking about it, right? I think that typically, you're sort of like, okay, we're getting to soft launch now, it's time to sort of loop in UA. Do you think that makes sense? Do you think it should be earlier, later?
I always tell this to companies that as early as you can, just start thinking about the UA, because when you start, the soft launch is already a little bit late. I do tend to run the marketability test to find out like different information or data points about visual styles, characters, game location, whatever that you wanna find out. That actually can save you some time and money. So as early as you can, just at least start talking to some UA people that can help you avoid making mistakes and spending time and money where it's you could potentially do something else. It's always about the opportunity cost.
Opportunity cost. Are you running marketability tests for every game that you consult on?
Not for every game, but it's been a trend that it's at least growing. And I know like a lot of companies at least thought about it, but eventually they said, oh, well, this is what we are going to do because we think so. And sometimes it's already too late if you have a build and prototype with all the visual styles there. So that's that. But there is a lot of companies that I started working with, and we are doing already like the first thing we do is like marketability test. There you go. Let's try to find out which visual style resonates more with our target audience.
And when you're running marketability tests, are you doing that on Facebook, on SDK networks? Where are you or are you doing on a combination?
It's I was always doing it on Facebook. Then TikTok came into the equation recently, and I know you have pretty good marketability test solution as well. So
that's not what we're talking about here. Let's.
I know.
I mean it seriously.
It's usually a combination.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about, since you mentioned it, let's talk about TikTok. How do you advise? I'm assuming yes, but let's indulge me. Do you advise UA teams to leverage TikTok? And if so, kind of like what's the best way to get started?
Oh, 100%. It's super easy. Yeah, of course. I'm absolutely for advising like starting to run TikTok as soon as you can. And even now, like TikTok is actually having pretty good CPMs in comparison to other networks, and it's like it's middle of December, so it's kind of rare to see those. And I'm seeing killer performance on TikTok across all the games managed at the moment. And if I need to compare the numbers, it's like 4 times lower CPI than on Facebook, with comparable quality. Sometimes on some games even better quality than Facebook, which didn't happen before. So it's really, this is the time where to start. And how to start, that's a difficult problem to solve because your, let's say, the countries you can target depend on where your company is based. So if you are based in, let's say, Slovakia, you can't run US because it's limited. If you are in Australia, you can't run US. You can run like Australia, New Zealand, some like Canada, some UK, and very
Okay.
like a limited amount of countries. In order to run all of the countries, you need to have account manager that will open up the business manager for you, and then there you go. So it's a difficult process, but it's
Worth
okay.
it.
I mean, what can you do? What can you do?
Do you think that this is the reason TikTok is so performant is because it's like still relatively early and it's less saturated than other channels? Or I'm meaning like there's a window here that people need to sort of leverage? Or do you think that it's something inherent in the sort of like the platform itself, something about like short form video or how the frame of mind that users are in when they're on TikTok or
Yeah, if you think about it, and this is one of the things that I've tried before and didn't work, and now it's working quite well. So there are these like rumors or potential theories like why TikTok is working so well. So the first one is that the audience of TikTok matured a little bit throughout the whole COVID, and now there's like a lot of older people there. But if you think about it, like, this is also my personal case. I've usually come to Facebook to look at different news, look how my friends what are they doing, and now I don't even have a motivation to open Facebook. To be honest, I only use Messenger to to communicate with my friends, and Facebook is just very limited amount of time. TikTok, on the other hand, is a very different platform, and people actually spend time there. So it makes sense that now it's performing quite well because, well, I think like a lot of people that actually went to Facebook for some information or something to actually get entertained. Now they're moving to TikTok. So there you go.
so it's time spent basically.
Yeah, yeah,
Scale
yeah, yeah.
and
And
now
also
obviously
the whole platform. Sorry, yeah, the whole platform
no, no,
just
go on.
definitely improved the targeting capabilities, the algorithm, and everything. It was mainly CPI based campaigns very early on. Now they have value optimization. There's purchase campaigns, all the app event optimized campaigns. Basically, it's everything that you can find on Facebook, but it's on TikTok now, and they are definitely improving the platform quite heavily.
One of the things that we've talked about at Iron Source is kind of like the TikTokization of ad units,
Mm.
and so this kind of like the dominance of short form video. So obviously on TikTok, that's the format you've got to be leveraging. Is in your experience, can you sort of run with one creative all channels, or do you really sort of need to have a creative strategy for every channel? And I thought this is I assumed the answer was very obvious here, but I think I might be wrong. So what is the
Yeah,
answer?
it's not very obvious. It's not very obvious, honestly. The, uh, I always said this, and I have some data to actually prove this, and we have also some cases out there that are actually proving this as well. So winner takes it all. If you have a winner creative and it's working well across Facebook, Google, ad networks. It's going to work very well on TikTok as well. So if you look at the Survivor.io example, they had zero UGC creatives, zero people in the creatives that everybody is talking about. Well, you need to have this for be able
Mm-hmm.
to have very good performance on TikTok. No, it's very easy. So it's of course it can help you to drive better performance after all, but all you need to start on TikTok is just take your Vina creative and it's going to perform there as well, and then you can optimize and then you can experiment, and it's going to have it's going to be the same winner on Android and iOS as well. And I've seen this happening to me multiple times on different games as well. So
Do you find that the people discover their winner creatives on TikTok? Meaning like a video, the TikTok ad that's like classic TikTok, right? With real people, UGC, etc., sound on, then ends up becoming kind of like a crossover creative for all the other channels.
Yeah, that definitely can happen. And what happened to me, and something I found out, is taking like social media or like TikTok organic posts with like TikTok music and everything, and taking that and using it in like different Facebook campaigns or even Google campaigns tend to perform super well. I'm looking at like engagement of those posts and those organic contents, and the best ones with the like highest engagement. I'm just taking those and applying it on different channels, and that works quite well. That works quite well.
Nice. What other special little hacks can you tell us about to sort of rethink UA? Like let's do low budget, right? You got almost no money.
No money. Oh well, that's easy actually. Yeah, because there are some companies obviously that actually asked me this, and we had this conversation on LinkedIn. Like, if there's like low budget, I would start with very very simple campaign structure using most probably just one network, targeting the top 5 geos revenue wise in just one campaign. Most probably here I would just go with like value optimized campaigns just to get as many payers as possible given the budget, and this could give you the best possible results in very simple structure. So that's what I would do. Obviously, if you don't have if you have zero budget, then you need to try to work on these like organic. Wonders and then miracles, and then just pray. Sometimes just that doesn't work.
Is organic growth still a thing?
No, I don't think so. Which might be just a very unpopular opinion because, well, I'm the UA guy, so I can't say you grow your game organically. But no, I do believe the organic is just misattributed UA. In some cases, of course, Subway Surfers and then Hill Climb Racing and all these games that were just very early on the platform, they're getting like loads of organics still. Those are exceptions. Yeah. Very big exception.
Last no BS question. Privacy. ATT. And I asked this also because it's sort of connected to another question which I wanted to ask you earlier. You sort of talk about how important it is to experiment, right? And you think you need to spend to experiment. But I think there's a lot of talk right now about sort of we have less budgets, or we're going to spend less on growth than we were before. Part of that is also because of kind of like the macroeconomic climate, and part of that is also, perhaps UA spend is less efficient or less effective because of kind of like privacy developments. How do you best advise UA teams, or how do you deal with a UA team or a company? It's like, I can't spend to experiment; it's too risky, or I have to spend less because I can't measure ROI the way I used to.
Yeah, that's a very good question, and you can always blame it on the UA consultant. If it's too risky, you can blame it on me. But it's actually it's actually very true, because some people are just afraid to spend money because they're afraid of losing job. And if you can't measure properly and you have day 7 ROAS goals, obviously if you can't spend on iOS you can't measure it properly, then you won't, because that's how your bonuses are applied, and that's how you measure performance. When I come in, I was like, well, look, so let's just apply very simple blended approach. If you don't have a very big data team, let's try there. So we spend 1,000, we get 1,500 back. Okay, so I guess you can see the math here. So we are getting some additional revenue. So let's try to build on top of it. If you have a data team, it's even better, because there are different incrementality tests you can do, media mix modeling, and I always say like this: like iOS payers didn't disappear; they are still there. Is it harder to get them? Of course, it is. But that's the beauty part of the UA. There are challenges. It's hard. Mm-hmm. But that's why you work in UA, to actually solve those challenges and problems.
So positive.
Of course, I am always with these iOS changes, and I always said this. I mean, I have more work, so I'm always positive, of course, about that, and that's great. Yeah, and you can spend profitably on iOS as well. It's just it requires different optimization methods, different like testing on the scan conversion schema. It's very tough to actually get it right. You need to spend time with your game team to actually figure out like how those let's say purchases and conversions, when are they happening, if they are happening on the first day, because of course you need 24 hours to maximize those events. And it's hard, and you need to do some changes on the game design side so you don't fuck up all the economy you have in the game as well. So that's why people say, oh, well, we can't spend profitably on iOS. Well, that's bullshit.
that is bullshit. It's not no BS.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's just hard and different, but it's not going to get any better. So get used to it,
guys. Last question: if you had to give one piece of advice to an indie developer, what would it be? And it doesn't have to be marketing related, by the way. Same question for a developer, or for if you want it could be a marketer at a larger studio. So 2 answers.
I think we already touched upon that with the low budgets, because indie developers don't have those super big budgets. But I would say understand your game LTV, because you need to know how the LTV evolves over time, and that's important. People tend to focus on CPI benchmarks and then LTV, but they don't know if the day 1 LTV is 10, how the day 30 LTV looks like. And that's important. That improvement over time is important for the effective UA. And I think this applies to the large publishers as well. Even if you're a large publisher and you should start with lower budgets and scale from there. Of course, if you're a large publisher, you have the money on your bank account, which is not a problem, of course, and you can scale very quickly from there. But it still needs to be effective spend.
Yeah,
exactly. It still needs to be effective spend. With the indie developers, this, of course, it's much slower process, and you need to go step by step and take it from there.
Nice. Thank you very, very much. Oh, wow. My computer's like, your Mac will soon sleep unless plugged into a power outlet. So that's a sign. We've come to the end of our podcast. Matej, thank you very, very much for being on the show today. And thank you, as always, to everyone else for listening.
Thank you very much, Melissa. It was great.